Welcome, a very warm welcome to all of you, DC Heroes United. Wherever you are across the world, you are in the right place. Episode 4, Part 2 Community Stream. I'm going to be your host and presenter, Eduardo, during this community stream. I'm going to give you the rundown of today's show. Now, to start today, right? That second half of our fourth episode is going to go live in just under 10 minutes. The conclusion of the first story arc. We will go into detail on that. First, what we're going to do, we're going to put up on screen what's in store for today's show. Production team is going to do that. It's been a delight working with them as always. Thank you so much to them. So we got our watch party. You're here with me. Our pre-show watch party. We're going to recap the episode from last week. We're going to look at the decisions you as an audience had to make, what to look forward to. Essentially, a little bit of a warm-up. We're all here. We're all getting used to our day. All good stuff. But noon Pacific, Part 2 of Episode 4 will air for your enjoyment. After that, we have our after show. Today's a great after show. We're going to talk, of course, about the episode, all the action that came out of it, give you the latest updates, the tips and tricks on Lex's EveryHero product. But of course, today, the star of our after show, none other than Crystal Lee, Barbera Minerva, and the Cheetah's voice actress. She joined me for a guest interview I recorded just a little bit before. Right now, I'm talking to you live. I can prove it. Anyways. That was off script, if you're wondering. But no, I had a delight doing a recorded interview with Crystal Lee just, again, an hour and a half before, and we'll air that for enjoyment in the interview. It'll be a delight. But start us off, recap of what DC Heroes United is all about. DC Heroes United is all about you. You collectively determine how Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman work together and how they will handle the challenges they face throughout our story. That leads up to the very formation of the Justice League. This brand new story is delivered to you live in weekly episodes. The rest of the week is your opportunity to shape together future episodes. It is the story of these heroes told anew, empowered by you. Now, Episode 4, Part 1, our heroes got a timely reprieve thanks to the appearance of Dr. Fate. That led to them having some well-needed planning time and determine what to do next. Now, Episode 4, Part 1, Wonder Woman. You chose for her to shield Dr. Fate. This led to her and Cheetah fighting it off, while the other superheroes got to deal with Cersei in a pretty good fashion, and just a little bit on that extra little moment. But it was definitely an upper hand moment for our superheroes, that is for sure. The main challenge Wonder Woman is going to keep having to face is kind of that pressure of the past with managing the diplomatic insights and skills and keeping them sharp in the present as our story progresses. She very much, unfortunately, could not get Barbara back on their side, so she has to develop and maintain that relationship with the other superheroes and Argus as best she can, and it will be quite the mission. Now, Superman didn't see a lot last episode, but we got to see something important, the continuation of how his breakup with Lois is doing. It took a slight turn for the better, because after all, he admitted to her that the time they had together is worth remembering, but again, for now, being a superhero comes first. It was a short appearance, but given how much we know you and the audience care about Lois and Superman's relationship, it was an important step nonetheless. Now, of course, last week, there was an important future fate decision that came up, essentially how you felt Superman should feel about the relationship. That will affect the relationship in future episodes to come. But again, future fate, not a specific episode. So, last and certainly not least in any way, shape, or fashion, because it's Batman and Batman, Black Canary, the ones who stole the show, very much stole that show in Episode 4, Part 1. Now, first, we got Batman to cathartically, punch Cersei's lights out. To start off, that was nice. Then Black Canary upstaged him a little bit, came back from the dead, thanks to the intervention by Dr. Fate, giving her that second chance and allowing her to be straight back in the action. And that was all in a moment's work. It lasted very little time for our heroes, but they were not done. You, the audience, have chosen for Black Canary to commend the group that went in to fight Bane. Now, she did get a nice coordinated group attack together with Cyborg and Blue Beetle, but Bane ended up escaping. Now, obviously, had a soft landing on Blue Beetle's skeleton first, but that still strengthened the relationship between Batman and Black Canary when they did the debrief later. However, we saw at the end of Episode 4, Part 1, turning their focus onto the staff of Shai. I know some of you in the audience were wondering how that's spelled. S-H-A-I for Shai. Look, newest episode is about to air in a couple of minutes. So we're going to take a look at the decision you as an audience had to choose that will pay out in today's episode as we conclude our first story arc. That's going to be up on your screen, courtesy our production team. What will Superman tell Blue Beetle to do about Kaji trying to take over? You had to give yourself over to your alien side, assert control over your alien side, or reject your alien side. Now, we saw the setup for this scene just before our superheroes met at the Tower of Fate to face Cersei at the end of episode 3, part 2. Jaime confided in Superman the difficulties in trying to understand himself, let alone Kaji. And that leaves Blue Beetle in a difficult position, especially when trying to be a superhero. As we saw in that scene, right, where Superman and Blue Beetle infiltrated the tower, pretty poor results. Now, you, the audience, had Superman explain the options, right? You can go with Jaime and his heart, you can go with Kaji and his mind, or you can have them go with their gut together in action as Blue Beetle. Now, when I checked in last Tuesday, just before close, assert control over your alien side was comfortably ahead as a choice by you, the audience. It is likely to be what we will see play out today. Now, that said, it is unclear how it will play out, right? Because what does that advice turn into action? That's going to be for you to discover live, right? So I hope you do enjoy the outcome of your choice, as well as the alternative scenes that will derive from it and all of the action that comes out of that. So here's the thing. Today, important time, right? Because we got last week, episode 4, we got part 1. It was very much about drawing those battle lines, right? The superheroes got the edge, but it's a tenuous one. It's very much about coming down to getting those key elements, right, in place before it's too late, such as chasing down the staff of Shai. So, as a result, today we're going to conclude essentially the first story arc. In the after show, we're going to debrief on that. But look, it's been a pleasure being with you, the audience, on this journey, seeing the characters develop as a result of your choices. And I don't want to hype you up too much on today's episode. I think it will speak nicely for itself, but you're in for a good time. So here's the thing. Episode 4, part 2, we're going to air it in just a minute. It's going to be the conclusion of the first story arc. You're going to see it live with the rest of the audience. You're going to get the earliest possible peek at the impact that your decisions have made. So, well, you're going to have to enjoy that. So look, as a result, it's going to have to be time for me to leave you. But I'll be back in the episode in our after show, discuss everything that happens in the episode there, talk about Lex's EveryHero project, tips and tricks, updates, all that great stuff, but especially that interview with Crystal Lee, Barbera Minerva's voice actress. I think you're going to have a delightful time watching that. I had a delightful time. So look, said enough. Please enjoy today's episode, Broken Fate, part 2, and I'll catch you on the Evershot.
Hello, Lex.
Barbara.
Is gone. But I'll happily take the Fate Breaker off your hands. Cersei will make it worth your while.
Like she did for you.
Oh, we want the same things. A better world. One where people feel safe and protected.
That's not what Cersei wants.
She has the power to take away suffering.
She is the suffering. She brought the tower here, unleashed this chaos, is trying to control us.
Oh, Lex. We could go on and on like this. Or you could hand over the Fate Breaker, which I see you have in one of your little storage boxes in your suit. But if you already have the Fate Breaker, why are you here at the museum?
Staff of Shine. Place the Fate Breaker atop. Ultimate power.
I rather like the sound of that.
How did you... Barb. Oh, we're friends.
No. You're prey!
I don't want to hurt you.
She knows about the staff.
Cersei knows why we're here, and Cheetah's already inside. Be prepared.
Split up, block her exits, and converge on the Egyptian exhibit.
Scanning for magical energy signatures, and... we're getting warmer.
My thermal sensors don't indicate an increase.
You never played the hot and cold game as a child?
Batman was never a child.
We have a staff to find.
Let's keep moving.
So, once we've assembled this super weapon and taken care of Cersei, what, you're just gonna give it to Waller?
Why shouldn't I?
That much power in the hands of someone who loves power that much? How's that any better than Cersei?
It's easy to judge decisions that aren't your responsibility.
It's just handing so much power to someone so...
Ruthless.
Exactly. That doesn't scare you?
Worse. It reminds me of my mother.
Kaji is tracking the staff's energy signature. It's close.
Cheetah, closing in.
Oh man. Oh man. I'm totally gonna freeze again. Okay. Head, gut, heart. Head, gut, heart. Come on, Jaime.
To reach your full potential as Blue Beetle, you need to trust your gut and take control of Kaji.
Find the guts to trust your gut. I'm coming, Super Bro!
Blindside attack imminent. Redline autonomous mode.
Kaji, bro, we're not trying to kill her. Way too stabby, Kaji.
You okay?
Mostly pissed off. Kaji kept trying to go in for the kill.
And you took charge and stopped it. Nice work. Now, let's find that staff.
That's def a staff. And it's bathed in magical energy. Must be the one.
The Staff of Shy.
Are we sure about meddling with more forces we don't understand?
That witch murdered me. If it means a chance at stopping Cersei, I say meddle away.
Look inside.
Cersei parlor tricks. If you could transport yourself to that dark alley, moments before our parents' death, how do you? To the exact moment before Mom and Dad were murdered, what would you do? Would you violate your own code and kill their killer? Or sacrifice yourself to take the bullets meant for them? What would you do?
The day Steve Trevor came to Themyscira, Mother was going to execute him to protect Themyscira and our sisters. What is this dark magic? That day, we drew our sword against his executioner and earned his freedom. But you declined to challenge Mother for leadership and accepted our banishment. To save a life, we lost ourselves. I won't be like her. No, you'll be less than her. So tell me, if you could step from this void back into that day, would you sneak Captain Trevor away from Themyscira without ever drawing our sword? Or fight Mother and take command of Themyscira yourself? Consider carefully.
Clark Kent, Superman, alien being on Earth, wayward last son of Krypton, orphan. What are you? I am the truth. I can take you to Krypton before it was destroyed, just as our parents sent you away to this world. How do you know so much? So I ask. Would you take our parents safe and let Bilious on Krypton die? Or abandon them for a chance at stopping Krypton from exploding in the first place, saving all the others? What would the mighty hero do? What just happened?
You retrieved the staff. It's not what happened. When I touched the staff,
It brought you here, to me. Any detours along the way are for another time. Cersei grows stronger.
Protect Dr. Fate!
Join the pieces! Wait!
You unleash its power inside here, it'll kill us both!
So be it!
Stop!
Too late. As was fated.
What have I done?
I let him die.
I failed.
Dr. Fate is dead. The helmet has no master. Strands begin to fray. Which of you is responsible?
Welcome to the DC Heroes United Watch Party After Show. Once again, I'm your host, Eduardo, and on behalf of our team, I hope you had a wonderful time enjoying episode 4, part 2 of DC Heroes United and the conclusion of our 4th story arc. Now, after these credits finish rolling, you're going to have a chance to check out the alternative scenes that would have aired with different choices from you, the audience. These are going to be centered around the advice that Superman ends up giving Blue Beetle and more about the consequences of said advice. You got to enjoy that fight. I hope you enjoyed that fight scene. You're going to enjoy it a little bit more, a little bit differently. Now, after these scenes air, I'll be back. We'll break down the action. If you don't want to go anywhere as well, we got that interview with Crystal Lee, Barbara Minerva's voice actress. So, see you in a bit.
I'm coming, Super Bro!
Blindside attack imminent. Recommend autonomous mode.
Double gun! Wow, alien power is powerful. Smart move, Jaime.
You okay?
Did you see that? Double boom! I should have let Kaji take over forever ago.
You need to be careful with how you use that power. Now, let's find that staff.
I'm coming, Super Bro!
Blindside attack imminent. Recommend autonomous mode.
Dr. Minerva, you don't know me, but I'm Blue Beetle, and I need you to stop. I heard you were a nice lady who didn't rip people's faces off. Can you just go back to being that? No. Kaji, chill with the murderous intent. I got this. Look, Doc, maybe you're just being bullied into this by Cersei. I know what that feels like. At school, at camp. Yeah, a lot like this. Bro, I was getting through to her.
And that kept her occupied. Good work. Now, let's find that staff.
I hope you enjoyed a look at those alternative scenes. We're going to dive into your choice first, what became canon. That was with Superman's advice to assert control over his alien side to Jaime. So we saw Blue Beetle very much be Jaime, Kaji, part of each, fighting off against the Cheetah. Now, Kaji wanted to use far more lethal weapons, quite clearly, than Jaime wanted, so you saw that conflict. Jaime wanting and having to rein in those choices to not kill Cheetah. Now, however, as a result of Blue Beetle intervening in the first place, that allowed Superman to recover, close down the fight. A knockout on Cheetah. Now, that did earn mentorship praise for Blue Beetle in the process, even though Jaime wasn't the happiest with Kaji here. Now, that became canon. So first alternative scene though that you got to see, that was where Jaime let Kaji fully take over. So you got to see what happened with, as a result, we got to see that massive energy blast fired that Jaime had stopped in the canon event. Kaji taking control of this situation. Believably by knocking out Cheetah, it looked like. Could have been worse, but both Superman and Cheetah here taking some real damage, right? That key difference though is that while Jaime is happy there about the amount of power wielded as a result of letting Kaji take over, so Superman's the one who's cautioning him and being more aggressive on the use of said power. Now, the last alternative scene was where the advice from Superman would have been to reject his alien side, and that led to, in the fight, Jaime kind of starting to hide, grappling a little bit with Cheetah, but it ended up being more about his words than actions, right? Especially as his words land home on Barbara, who comes to a realization during their fight, especially that moment about bullying. But that realization and that awakening interrupted by a very quick punch to the face from Superman, knocking her really cold. So one of the interesting things in that alternative scene is how the mentorship-mentee relationship was different, right? It flips a little because Blue Beetle's the one going through that regret, feeling he got through to her, while Superman's the one who's a little bit lighter about it, right? Comments that it was a good strategic move, but Jaime's not quite all into that one. So a little bit of different consequences for each choice, but again, the one that you chose was the one where it was part Jaime and part Kaji into Blue Beetle, trying to kind of get to grips with themselves. Now, there were other alternative scenes today. Those are available on the video on demand to watch at your leisure. You get a little bit more context and a little bit extra. But it's time. We're going to jump into the decisions that came out of today's episode. No, I didn't fib this time, unlike when I closed the pre-show. This was decisions with an S, yes, decisions, plural. Today, that's going to be up here on the screen. Which hero will step forward and take responsibility for the death of Dr. Fate? You got Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman. Now, end of episodes 2 and episodes 3, you are left with a critical decision of choice, right, as the curtain closes. Now, it's here, how do you perceive this question? It matters a lot, right? Because there is a part of this, you could look at it literally as who's responsible, but they're clearly all to some part. So like, is it a question about who is actually responsible, or is it more about which superhero wants to take responsibility for said death? Essentially, in a way, who are you as an audience seen as fit to carry this burden? Now, as teased, 2 decisions are coming today. The second one is specifically around Batman. A lot of you in the audience were asking if you were the ones that will have to make this choice. Yes. Now, what would Batman do if he could go to the moment before his parents died? Kill their killer or take the bullets? The question comes from the Tower's dark version of Batman and asks the hypothetical question you see. Now, it's a pretty nasty hypothetical question, before he just slams into Batman right after. The real question with this decision, because it's one of morality and it's one of principles. So as a result, in a way, is it a decision about Batman, or is it about you at home having to make that choice as an audience member and as part of the greater audience? I'll leave you with that pain. But I got some good news here. The episode, in a way, finished our first story arc, right? Concluding it. So I will move on in a little bit to Lex's EveryHero projects, our tips, our tricks, our updates. But first, I had the chance to record an interview with Crystal Lee, our voice actress behind Barbera Minerva, behind the Cheetah. I hope you have a great time, because I certainly did, recording this just before our live show about 2 hours ago. So production team is going to play it for you. Please enjoy.
All right, I'm here with none other than Crystal Lee, Barbera Minerva's voice actress. Super happy to have you here with us, like with the rest of the audience. Yes, and well, tell us all about yourself, how you came to be. Because I know you, well, in a way, right? Because I know like your pathway has not been the one of the typical voice actor pathway that we would see.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for the introduction, Eduardo. Hi, everybody. My name is Crystal Lee. I am a voice actor. I've been voice acting for a few years now, and I got my start during the pandemic. Before this, I was doing nothing even remotely related to voiceover, not even related to acting. I used to be a biomedical engineer. That's what I studied in school, and I worked in corporate for a few years before I jumped over to this during the pandemic. And yeah, now I'm full time in voice acting, so I'm really grateful to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, that's so like in a way you had a very different path, right? Because you
Yes.
so like you have a master's in it's biomedical engineering,
That's
am I
right.
correct? Right.
Yeah.
So like you had that lined up, and then it kind of lined up your graduate studies ended with the career with the pandemic, correct?
That's right. So I finished my master's at the end of 2019, and then we all kind of know what happened a couple of months after that. But yeah, I had my full-time job all lined up, which I ended up doing for a few years. But during that time, I began taking voiceover classes. I'd done a little bit of acting just as like a hobby on the side before that. So I had like a little bit of exposure to it. And I missed it greatly during the pandemic because acting classes and all the student films I was going to be in got canceled all of a sudden. And I missed it a lot. And yeah, uh, the internet allowed me to start looking at options to continue acting from home, and voice acting was what I found and fell deeply in love with. And to this day, I can't imagine doing anything else.
No, I mean that's fantastic, and obviously
Thank you.
you're in the show, so like the at this point we're recording this in the past of the episode, but the audience is seen
That's
in the
right.
future of the episode. I know that they have seen you a lot today, since, but yeah, so hopefully they enjoyed really your performance today. I certainly did. I thought today's episode was really fantastic,
Thank
but
you.
I get a sneak preview, again, talking in the past. But here's the thing, right? We warmed up, and obviously for the audience, we don't do these interviews kind of out of the blue, like Crystal appears magically and then we do this. No, like it's a little
I've
prepared,
been
right? 'Cause
summoned.
yeah, a little
There we
bit prepared. But you know, when we warmed up, Crystal, right? You've been watching the show actively. I know you've been watching the episodes and
Yes.
following along. So how did you
Yes, I
find the
have.
show so far? How did you enjoying
Oh
it?
my gosh. It's so good. I ever since we recorded, I knew it was something that I wanted to watch and follow along with when it came out because the writing was just so good. And I only get to see my parts when we're recording. And it's just been such a delight to see everything fit together. Everyone's performances are phenomenal. The writing is top notch. The epic action sequences have my entire heart like going crazy. Like I'm on the edge of my seat. It looks fantastic. I'm so proud to be a part of this. And I hope everybody is enjoying all of the amazing hard work that has been put into it because it's phenomenal. And I love being part of a new form of storytelling where like you've been able to incorporate this like choose your own adventure aspect to it, which has just been so cool to see. Yeah, I've really been enjoying every part of it, and I especially love that we get a glimpse of the what could have beens at the end of the episode too. I'm a big fan of that. I didn't expect that. I thought it was just going to be what the community decided would be what ended up in final. So it's really cool to get to see the branching narrative like actually fleshed out and like put into what would have been its final product form. Yeah, I think that's a really awesome extra mile that the team goes through.
Yeah, I mean, so like for like the audience here on Clarity and for you, right? It's essentially what
Yes.
happened is we kind of make this stuff anyways, right? Because we can't.
Yeah.
So might as well, if it's made, enjoy. So, but by the way, something important, right? Because we had Kevin talk to us last time. Well, not last time, but like before. Yes. So Blue Beetle's voice actor, right? And he detailed that he like recorded his lines, I believe, right, with Chris Hackney at the same time. Whereas your experience was more typical, right? It was like I did my lines on my side, and then the last end product is kind of where I see everything. So talk a bit about that
Yes.
because that's more standard, right?
Yes, that's right. For the most part, and for most voiceover gigs that I do, you're recording solo, so I don't have other cast members. I mean, sometimes I have had that experience, and it's so much fun when that is the case, but more often than not, and it's the vast majority of the time, it's just me solo. I don't have any other person, another actor in the booth or virtually. I that would be that must have been so much fun. Good for them. But yeah, this is my first time seeing everybody's performances is in the final product, and everyone's crushing it. Every snaps. Sorry,
No,
on you.
I mean, so I know, like, I repeat this, right? Our producer Arthur did a lot of work with all the voice actors in general. And I know he took a lot of particular care because I work with him a lot on, like, kind of, obviously he's part of setting up these interviews, but also, like, he did all the work on like kind of making sure helping on the voice actors being cast and all that and select. But like, actually, if you could talk about your experience because on how you became Barbara Minerva's voice actress here.
It's pretty simple, and I think a lot of my castmates would share the same story. Is that I auditioned. I got the audition through my lovely agents, and it was a whole packet. And I got really excited about a few of the characters. Barbara being the one that I was mainly like, oh my god, this is juicy stuff. And yeah, through that audition out into the void, didn't know if I'd ever hear back. And then one day the email came through and here we are now. I'm very glad to have gotten the opportunity to audition through my agents, but like this is my first real exposure to the DC universe. I didn't get to read the comics much growing up as a kid, and now I'm thinking, oh my god, I should. The stories are so much fun, and these characters are just amazing fun to dive into. I just loved reading through the background that we had for Barbara and like the journey that she goes on in this particular story. It's very juicy to me, and I related and resonated to a lot of what she was feeling in the story and like the way that she goes. You know, we all love a little bit of a dark path, a little bit of a villain arc.
Well,
That's my
let's talk about that, right? Like, so
Yeah.
you had to voice, let's say two for now, at least two. Well, at least two in one, right? You have Barbara
Yes.
Minerva and her alter ego, right? The villain arc, Cheetah, the Cheetah. And like, how did you approach like that challenge, right? Like, because it is a challenge.
It is, but it's the kind of challenge that it's my favorite type of challenge. It is my favorite assignment to ever get when I get a project and I get to play like a 2-in-1 character or 3 or whatever, like a character who goes through so much change and you get to cut between or like experience parts of her journey where she feels like two different people. That's my favorite thing because how do you get from point A to point B? That's such a good journey. And yeah, being able to do that is a privilege because it takes a lot of investment from the writers, first off, to show who a character is or was versus who they become after going through a lot. And I really loved Barbara's journey, particularly because I felt it was very deeply relatable in the way that she feels like she compares herself to the people around her that she's surrounded with, these heroes, these people who get to be on the ground making decisions that shake the rest of the world, and she's kind of back in the lab on a screen and they're like, hey, what's up, Dr. Minerva, you expert, what do you think? And she gets to advise, but she feels that she doesn't feel that she's operating in the capacity that she's meant to be. And I thought that was relatable to me especially coming from like a science background of being like, okay, so I used to be in this path, and I was pretty good at it, but it wasn't something that fed my soul, and it wasn't something that I felt I was doing. That I felt like I should be something different. I felt like I should be something to me more, which was more fulfilling. And I'm lucky to be there now. But for Minerva, like that feeling eats at her, and it's what brings her to make the decisions that eventually take her darker, and operating from a place of fear and insecurity. And it's a great and delicious mire, like mental mire to dive into. I love it so much. I'm very lucky to be here, and it's a
Yeah.
privilege, to be trusted with that.
No, and,
Sorry,
and
I
today's
ran
episode, I
so
think, showed a lot of the range of your work, especially with the alternative scenes. There was a lot of different. Honestly, the action scene that played out today, right, past into future, really showed, I think, your range because the Cheetah really acts in very different ways in each of the alternative scenes. And I thought that
Yes.
showed a lot of your range. Plus, it's funny that you like this type of profile, given like the profile of the show being about the audience choosing the pathways, right? It gives you like that
Yeah.
extra range, right?
Oh, yeah, I know. It's so exciting to see all the different like ways that the audience participation can change the narrative and the way that different character arcs start to develop, it's been fascinating to see that, because that's the meat of the story for me. It's like we have these heroes, and sure, it's like they'll save the world or destroy it or anything in between. But what is really like fostering emotional investment, at least definitely for me, is how these characters and their relationships with each other develop and how they develop as people. And to see that the audience can kind of push them along and nudge them in different directions is fascinating and just so exciting to be able to play with as an actor, because I don't know what's coming. I don't know.
Look, even I don't, and I have the scripts because you don't know the direction. But I think that's like honestly, I like that you kind of touched on this. It's a great place to stop, just because it's a great message as well for the audience, because again, you at home are the ones who are choosing the pathways, right? So to speak, you know, what you see on the screen, we were part of making the thing, but you're the ones who are taking it home, so to speak. But okay, Crystal, very important last question. Where can people find you?
That's right. You can find me on a few different social media platforms, but most importantly, I think Instagram is where I am most these days, and it would be at Crystal Y Lee VO. Crystal, the letter Y, Lee VO.
It's
right there.
my fingers are terrible, but it's here. There we go. You can see it there on your screen. Yeah, perfect.
Yes, but thank you so much. This was so much fun.
No. I honestly, it's a pleasure, and I hope you all at home in the audience have enjoyed. I know I've enjoyed having you on board, Crystal. So thank you so much for being with us. Now we're going to go back to the show, probably talk about Lex's EveryHero project. But thank you again for joining us, and it was a delight.
Thank you, Eduardo. It was a delight to be here, and yeah, everybody enjoy. I hope you're having a blast, because I certainly am.
Thank you again to Crystal Lee for sharing with us your experience, or her experience, talking to the audience with DC Heroes United. And I hope that all of you in the audience enjoyed this interview. Again, if you wanted to find her, Crystal Y Lee VO, usually on her tags, and her website is just .com instead of the VO. I hope you had a great time, but now it's time to talk about Lex's EveryHero project, those updates, those tips, and those tricks. Now, as a reminder, the EveryHero project is made for you to feel like a superhero. Each new run, you incarnate one of our featured superheroes, face ever-increasing challenges as the wave of enemies increase. Try to survive longer and longer within the levels. Take part, you'll be able to level up your superheroes, make them stronger, unlock more levels, maps, superheroes, increase the challenges that you will face. Importantly, play gives you access to story tokens to decide the story. That's how you can affect the decisions. I did say superheroes. That's a lie as of this week, as of now, because Cersei's a new, super villain available for you to play with. She is the first villain you get a chance to try out. She has her signature ability, Magic Vortex, of course. Now, similar to Dr. Fate, but reversed. You can combine it with Reality Fields to reach Corrupted Fate as an evolved ability, as we saw in the show. Very much so. Now, Cersei's speciality is very much about being a villain in a position of control, right? When she is near max health, she has a small chance that defeated enemies drop ultimate charges, and that powers up her ultimate. So these are little lightning bolts in the game, and when you get free, right, some huge effect happens. So, you know, maybe if you're lucky, you're able to unleash a ton of ultimate attacks in a row, keep wiping the screen of enemies, as long as you can keep her health nice and high. Now, her ultimate, what it looks like, you'll have to play to discover it. But like last week, we'll make sure you have that option as soon as possible for an event, because to unlock Cersei, good news, like Dr. Fate last week, we have an event dedicated to her this week. Essentially, you'll be able to get up to 30 hero shards. Now, 15 is what you need to have Cersei be yours in Lex's EveryHero product. Now, as a reminder, events, right? The idea is you complete tasks, a little separate from goals, right? But that gets you tickets, and then you redeem the tickets for prizes. The prizes are very similar as Dr. Fate's event. There's a large variety if you haven't had the chance to play the event last week. But the star of the show, of course, those Cersei hero shards. You'll want to go for 15. That's what you'll want to focus on this week, because the event will last 1 week for you to try on your hand on in Lex's EveryHero project. So also, a last quick update. This already happened. We got a new map in the game over last week. As you can see here, Centennial Park is the 8th map in the game, is available to you upon completing Cherry Hill Silver. Now, Centennial Park features a brand new mini boss, Omak, as you can see there. Unleashes some nice little huge laser attacks that will circle around the screen, and that's where you'll have to just avoid it by going around, as well as these projectile attacks that you'll have to dodge or get rid of. Now, of course, try to dish out the damage as you go. I had fun playing this map in the last few days. If you're far enough ahead in the game, want to give it a shot, I highly recommend it. Again, it's the 8th map. You'll need to complete the silver challenges to progress. Now, one important thing, by the way, before I go into tips and tricks for Lex's EveryHero product, because I want to take some time for those of you who need these, one of the aspects is for Cersei's events, I will remind you when the community stream ends, you'll need to refresh the app. That's the best way, because we kind of put these events as the show goes on at the same time. Kind of give you that little bit of a surprise because you're live with us here with the show and want to make sure that after the show's done, you have the most exciting stuff. So we're going to discuss tips and tricks, specifically bosses. So if you have trouble with certain bosses, one of the nice parts is mid-level bosses, as well as kind of the end-level bosses, have repeatable patterns, right? That means that if you know the boss that's coming, usually you'll know because you've gotten into the boss and not succeeded, or you might have succeeded right away, great. If you employ the right passive abilities, you can plan ahead and you can defeat these bosses in a way that's really trivial. So Wing Boots, for example, passive ability allows you to move more quickly. Now, for certain bosses, for example, this rocket boss, that's going to be the difference between taking a ton of damage or being able to avoid all of it entirely. Superman is typically quite a slow character, so having Superman going this fast with Wing Boots, really important. And as I use Superman, I take Wing Boots a lot because specifically what you see on your screen right now. But each character will need different levels of Wing Boots to kind of get to that top speed you need. Now, one additional strategy that can be really interesting is if you have a piece of equipment called the Amazonian Greaves on your screen. What they do is they increase speed after you take damage. Now, typically this is to run away after with the mobs, but in the boss arena, you see that green electric barrier, right, that you have with bosses. For example, you saw it there on the bottom of your screen. You're going to see it up on top. There we go. So what you can do is you can deliberately choose to take damage. If you go on the green barrier, take damage, it's a lot less damage than any of the boss's attacks, especially as you go later on. And that will dramatically increase your speed and avoid more dangerous attacks, such as these rockets, such as Bane's Boulder or the Super Flying Gargoyle's Energy Blaster Charge. That's a strategy that myself and a lot of my colleagues have started employing to kind of like have a circumvented Wing Boots of sorts on command. Now, the other passive ability I want to talk about is Shield. So you see Shield here at level 5. And with Black Canary, you're more likely to choose it, right? Because it involves Canary Cry. She has low defense, low HP, so it makes sense. But as you see there, right, that's the important part I want to talk about. The Bane Boulder attack here. So here's the thing. When a boss has one big devastating attack, you want Shield at level 5 because it lasts until you have one hit. So the shield is going to protect you here against these attacks that can be really run-ending, right? You've lasted 10 minutes. You don't want this boulder to end your day. So getting the shield up to level 5 helps you avoid that. Now, levels 1 to 4, the shield is time-based. That's actually better for crowds than a one-time dodge. So usually what you want to do is have shield grow from level 1 to 4 while you're dealing with the crowd. And then right at the very end, take that level 5, be ready for that boss, make trivial word of some of these bosses like Bane. So shield can really be helpful in that sense. Now, I hope those tips and tricks were useful to you. Here's the thing. Our time is coming to a close. But before I let you head on down to Lex's EveryHero project, I'm going to talk about what the conclusion of our first story arc means in terms of our schedule. So very importantly, right, today's episode marks the conclusion of that first story arc. We're cooking our next batch of future episodes, but we're going to update you when we have more information. What this means as well for the rest of the week. There will be new decisions revealed noon Pacific, Friday, Saturday. So you will get 2 brand new decisions this Friday and this Saturday. Sunday, noon Pacific, we will reveal the decision percentages, as we do. And then Sunday's noon Pacific till Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific, you'll have rallies. So these rallies are a result of doing your weekly goals in Lex's EveryHero project, and you'll be able to change the tide on those decisions. So the 2 from the day, the 1 from Friday, the 1 from Saturday. So you'll have 4 that you can decide to change the tide on. And those rallies are done from weekly goals. The decisions, however, won't close. They're going to remain open until the second story arc airs. And again, we'll update you on that. In the meantime, when you take part in Lex's Every Hero project, that will continue to affect the future story. We're going to update, as usual, that every day, noon Pacific, for you to enjoy updates to come in the following weeks. So Lex's Every Hero project will keep going essentially as we go. We'll keep having those updates. The story arc, we will let you know more information as we have it. Now, Death and Darkness. This is a great intro, by the way, to my conclusion. I love this one. Death and Darkness very much came to the forefront as our episode conclusion. The dark versions of the superheroes, Dr. Fate's death, and the decisions you will have to make as the result, as an audience, leave the story in quite an uncertain place. But episode 4 was also the result of your decisions to work together. And you see that in those struggles, right? Whether it's from the superheroes working together or even something as Jaime and Kaji working together. It's all about that understanding, that best action course to take. Now, this first story arc was very much about the superheroes also discovering and spending time developing relationships with one another. Some of them broken, very much, for example, Diana and Barbara as one, but also what will follow remains to be seen as a result. I really hope you enjoyed the story. Remember that there are a lot of wonderful people who worked on it. You can check the credits at the end of every episode, but we're coming to the conclusion of this community stream with episode 4, part 2, the story arc. I hope you had a delightful time in our company. Remember, as usual, the story and game evolve in the weeks to come. We're looking forward to seeing what you will decide in the coming days, weeks, because the story, as always, needs one final ingredient to be fully written. You. Now, we don't want to leave you hanging. So our next stream is going to be Wednesday, January 29th, noon Pacific. This won't feature, of course, a live episode, but I will cover and uncover brand new updates to Lex's Every Hero project. And I'm personally hoping to bring sprinkle a little bit of a little extra surprise. If I can, I will do my best that you have an entertaining time. The important part from our team is we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to hang out with the rest of the community because we know it's important. We want to make sure you've decided to tune in, to take your time to spend it with us and to spend it with the other people who care as much as you do on the show. So I'm glad that you are here, and we want to make sure that we still spend that time with you. Very important. So again, I want to thank you on behalf of our team for tuning in live to the conclusion of the very first story arc, and hope to see you in 2 weeks' time at noon Pacific on Wednesday, January 29th. Please remember, as the community stream ends, to refresh your app if you want to try out Cersei's event. It's been an absolute delight to be here, especially in the light of our production team here as well. I want to give them a special thanks, but here it is. Wherever you are around the world, I wish you a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Take care.